one by one, they all came in. Marshall sat there on the bed, doing his best to keep calm and not lash out in anger or hug his friends in tears. He saw the nervous and guilty looks they were giving him, but he had to make sure. For a long time, there was no talking. Finally, Chase stepped forward. "Marshall, we'd dash." "Stop," ordered Marshall, holding out his paw. Chase obeyed and stood down. Marshall closed his eyes. "Before we talk. Before you tell me how sorry you are. Before you do anything. Let me get something out of the way." Marshall took a deep breath and, for the first time in his entire life, spoke in anger. "You betrayed me." The five winced, but continued to stand as Marshall let out everything he had been holding in for so long. "How could you say all those mean things to me? After everything we'd been through? I trusted you. I loved you all. I thought of you as family, and you stabbed me in the back. Yes, I make mistakes. Yes, I am a klutz. But at least I don't tell my friends they are annoyances or worthless." He growled, showing his teeth as he got up and stood before the whimpering pups, who were already tearing up. "I would do anything for you five. Anything. Especially you, Chase," shouted Marshall, glaring at the police pup. "I was there when your dad died. I was there for you all the way. You were my brother. And yet you yelled at me like I was some kind of criminal." He barked in anger. "I ran away because I felt that I wasn't needed by any of you, and I almost died doing so. Yeah, running away was stupid, but so was bullying me." Marshall continued to huff and puff, but there was also something else he was doing that caught the eyes of the pups. He was crying. Tears leaked down from his eyes as he lowered his head, muttering, "But I can't hate you. Any of you. Every time I try, I just think about all the fun times we have had together growing up. All the missions we did, and the lives we helped. I think about how much we've grown close, and I want to believe that feeling is still there. I want to still love you five, even though you hurt me." Their ears perked as Marshall continued, I heard everything of what you pups did when I left. I want to know, right now from each of you, why did you do that? Why go through a storm and fight a bear, just to bring me home? You made it clear you didn't think I was fit for Paw Patrol anyway." Rubble was the first to answer. "Because you're our buddy." They all glanced at him. "What we did, it was stupid. Apollo was just a TV show, and we shouldn't have said those things to you, Marshall. It was wrong. We were wrong, and when we realized what we did." Rubble sniffed as he began to tear up. "When we thought we lost you, it felt like nothing we would ever do would make up for our mistake. That nothing would ever be happy again." "Rubble's right," said Rocky, lowering his head. "We're ashamed of what we did. There's nothing wrong with being clumsy, we've lived with it for so long and we love you for being you. When I thought you were dead, Marshall, I prayed that you were still alive. I offered anything to see you again, even drowning myself in water if it meant having you back." Rocky walked over and gently licked Marshall's cheek. "Do you remember when you took care of me when the others dealt with those bullies? You stood by me, and I let you down. I promise that will never happen again." Before Marshall could answer, he was tackled by a crying Zuma, much to everyone's surprise. The sobbing chocolate Labrador held him tight and didn't dare let go. "Please tell me it's real. Please tell me that you're still alive." Marshall's expression softened as he gently rubbed Zuma's head. "Yeah, Zuma. I'm here." "Wah!" cried Zuma, hugging tighter. "When I hawed. I wanted you. Marshall." Marshall didn't say anything, he just hugged his friend and nuzzled him. "I'm alive, Zuma. You don't have to worry." I don't care if you forgive us or not. I mean, I would like it, but..." He rubbed his eyes and gave Marshall a warm smile. "Knowing you're alive is enough for me, big bro." "Zuma, Marshall began to tear up and hug the little pup. "I'm sorry I worried you." "Marshall." "I'm so sorry," whispered Sky as she got onto his bed and whimpered. "I acted just like those bullies from my past. When it hit me what I did, I just wanted to sink into the earth in shame." She started to tear up. "I saw your fire truck, your blood at the bear's cave. I thought I lost one of my best friends, and it was all my fault. If I stood up for you, any of us, this didn't have to happen. It's all our fault. You shouldn't even be injured in the first place, you should have been with us at the lookout." Turning away, she lowered her head. I don't deserve your forgiveness." "Sky," whispered Marshall, as he closed his eyes and thought about his long journey. Did you and Chase really fight that bear, for me?" "Fought and killed," whimpered Sky, turning green. I never wanted to, but I'd fight 100 bears for you, Marshall." A real smile made it to Marshall's lips as he then turned to Chase, who stood there as still as a statue. Everyone waited with awaited breath as Marshall got up and jumped down, walking over to the police dog. The two eyed each other, neither moving or saying anything. The four nervously looked at each other with concern before Chase took a deep breath. "This is for running away and nearly getting killed." "Pow!" The four other pups gasped as Chase's paw smacked into Marshall's face, knocking him back. Chase sighed and said, "Your turn." Marshall's stunned face slowly transformed into a growl as he charged at Chase, knocking him over. The two pups barked and began to rough each other up, biting and slamming their paws against each other. Chase kicked Marshall of him before ramming him into the wall. Marshall yipped in pain before using his rear leg to kick Chase in the gut and throw him off. "Marshall!" "Chase!" "Stop it," shouted Sky. "What the heck do you guys think you're doing?" shouted Rubble. The two pups ignored their friends and Chase took off, Marshall running right after him with an angry bark. They rushed out of the cottage and into the snowy fields outside, much to the shock of the rest of the gang. Marshall finally tackled Chase as he bit his tail as hard as he could, making the police dog howl. The audience as shocked by this as the pups ran out and Sky shouted, "Ryder! Make them stop!" Ryder was about to, but his father stopped him and shook his head. "They need this." "Marshall!" cried out Misty, turning to her husband. "Blaze, stop them!" "No," he answered much to her shock. He stared at the fight with knowing eyes. This is between them, as brothers. Like it was with me and Trigger." Chase had taken some snow and thrown it in Marshall's face before smacking him a few more times with his paw before setting him up in a chokehold. Marshall gasped for air as he felt Chase's front legs wrapped around his neck. With all his strength, Marshall elbowed Chase in the cut and bit his neck, dragging him down as he continued his attack. The group watched in horror, except for Blaze and the professor, as both dogs continued to tear each other apart. Even to the point of bleeding. After a long period of trying to get on top, the two broke away from each other and started hitting each other with their paws again. One would make contact while the other countered with a blow of their own. At first it seemed like this would never end, but slowly they began to slow down. And besides the grunting, there was crying. The audience's eyes widened as they saw both Marshall and Chase crying as they continued to hit each other, the force of their blows getting weaker and weaker with each moment. Finally, neither could lift their paws against each other. For a whole minute they stared at each other, and then hugged. Nuzzling each other, the two brothers cried side by side as they whimpered, not from the pain from their fight, but the pain being released from their hearts. Naturally, there were some confused pups and humans. "I don't get it," said Everest, shaking her head. "They were ready to kill each other and now they're hugging each other like nothing has changed." "Why?" "Because they're brothers," answered Blaze, smiling at the scene before him. "True brothers will always love each other, even in the worst of times." Sometimes you want to hug them, sometimes you want to punch them. All the fighting was their way of talking, to saying what need to be said. All the emotion in each blow, and now that it's all used up, all that anger and regret, they can heal. Blaze sighed as a nostalgic look in his eyes made him water. Trigger and I did it all the time. Those two, they're just like us. So, he forgives Chase? Asked Rocky. He was going to forgive you all no matter what, said Blaze, laughing. That's just how Marshall is. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, said Chase. I love you, Marshall, always. I love you too, Chase, said Marshall, breaking the hug and smiling. Sorry, I almost broke the promise. Forget the promise, Marshall, said Chase, as he smiled back. Promise me that if I ever do something as stupid as call you an annoyance again, you'll punch me? Promise, whispered Marshall as he hugged him again. I forgive you. All of you. Thank you, whispered Chase before grinning. You know I went easy on you, right? Yeah, big softy, whispered Marshall before he sniffed the air and his eyes widened. Breaking the hug, he raised his eyebrow and stared at Chase with a suspicious smirk. Why do I smell sky scent on you? Close to your mouth? A blush appeared on Chase's face. Ugh, no reason? Oh my gosh, you two kissed, didn't ya? Shouted Marshall, earning everybody's attention before they all turned their attention towards Sky, who was just as red as Chase. And no. I didn't kiss her yet, shouted Chase, eyes widening upon realizing what he said. I mean. Marshall was now laughing hysterically as he laid on his back, kicking in the air. The others soon joined him except for Sky, who was shaking her head. 3 months later. Said Katie as she checked Marshall's side again, the rest of the pups and Ryder waiting in the medical room with them in anticipation. Smiling, Katie nodded, yup. He's good to go. The pups cheered with excitement as Marshall pumped his paw in the air. Yes. This pup's back in the game. Great to have you officially back, Marshall, said Ryder, scratching Marshall's ear much to his pleasure. Yeah, although it was funny seeing all us take turns in your uniform, replied Sky. I don't know, I think you looked kinda of cute in it, replied a grinning Chase, which earned him a peck on the cheek from his girlfriend. Ugh, get a room, muttered Zuma, rolling his eyes. 3 months as a couple, and you two can't keep your paws off each other. What can I say? I can't get enough of her, said Chase, nuzzling Sky affectionately. A beep on Ryder's pup pad alerted everyone of a possible rescue mission as the owner opened the channel. Hello, what's up? Ryder. We got a gas leak in my store. Alex and I are already outside safe, but we need to stop it as soon as possible. Can you help? No problem, Mr. Porter, said Ryder as he raised his arm. No job is too big, no pup is too small. He turned to his pup team and smiled. Paw Patrol. To the lookout. Let's go, the 6 shouted as they made their way to the elevator. Marshall jumped from his bed and shouted, wait for me. Just as he exited, his paw got caught in a play rope and tripped. Whoa. Whoa. He bounced off a cushion, slammed into a wall, and started to roll towards the elevator. Heads up. Uh-oh, said the pups before they were bowled over by Marshall and ended up in a tangle. Blushing, Marshall whispered, sorry, pups. Guess this is proof that I'm all better, huh? The 6 laughed as the elevator rose. Yup. Things were all better again.
So Leute, das war's für diesen Livestream gewesen. Hoffentlich hat euch diesen Finalpart gefallen. Wenn es euch gefallen hat, dann like nach oben, abonniert meinen Kanal und aktiviert die Glocke. Und ja Leute, das war's diese Geschichte von der Marshall Guns Missing. Die Full Story wird erst ein anderes Mal kommen, circa am Wochenende oder so. Und ja Leute, ich verabschiede mich hier für heute und hoffe, dir hat euch gefallen, diese Geschichte, und wir sehen uns im nächsten Livestream. Tschüss!